Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Welcome to the show, guys. Glad to have you here. It is the 23rd of September, 2018. And I am glad to be back here, guys. I've been very busy. I hope you can excuse the fact that I am not here every single day for you. It's very hard because I have a regular job. I'm hoping to do this full time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it very, very much. Much to get to on the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. The accusation of Christine Blasey Ford, who is a radical leftist academic with a political bent, going after a good and decent man with scurrilous allegations that cannot be proven. I have so much video and so much to get to on this, guys. Do not leave your smart device. Do not leave your computer, because this is going to get big. We are Salem. We are Salem. Hundreds of years ago in Salem, Massachusetts, some hysterical teenage girls decided to create memories of events that did not exist, and people hung until dead because of it. Christine Blasey Ford is an adult. She is not a teenager. People are treating her like she is still the 15-year-old that supposedly at a drunken party where she doesn't know where it happened, what year it happened, but by God, she should be given credibility. Are you out of your effing mind? If you believe that, you are out of your effing mind. Let me just go ahead and say this, okay? I'll just go ahead and say it. I lived in Washington, D.C. for about 10 years. Nancy Pelosi, in, I think, maybe 2005, sexually assaulted me in the bathroom at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Crystal City above the Reagan National Airport. I was in there. I was just hanging out, hanging out in the bathroom. That's not a good... I'm in the bathroom at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse above Reagan National Airport, Crystal City. And all of a sudden, this woman comes into the bathroom. The stall was open, and she sexually assaulted me. Nancy Pelosi. It was Nancy Pelosi, I swear. I mean, I was drinking at the time. But Nancy Pelosi sexually assaulted me. There you go. All right. There you go. That's about as much credibility as Christine Blasey Ford has 36 years after she alleges Brett Kavanaugh attempted to sexually assault her. This woman is a Democrat activist. I'll get into all of the sundry causes that she has been involved in. Her lawyer is a radical leftist. This is third world character assassination. This cannot stand. This shows all of us the depths to which the Democrat Party will go for political purposes to ruin a good and decent man who has led an exemplary life with allegations of something that may or may not have happened. But there are many people in the media, many people in Hollywood, because she is a Democrat, because she is an activist, because she is against Brett Kavanaugh, she should be believed. Some things to remember about this. Christine Blasey Ford's therapist's notes of the incident do not match her current version of the story. Now, Christine Blasey Ford was in couples therapy. Okay? It happens. She was in couples therapy, and the therapist needs to prove his or her worth $150, $200 an hour by taking all of the issues involved in one's life, and I'm not saying this of all therapists, all of the issues currently involved in somebody's life and blaming it on something other than just the person sitting before them are whatever. Repressed memory is bogus, is BS, is crap. Repressed memory has sent people to prison for pedophilia who never did it. Because some therapists need to create a narrative to prove their self-worth. We've seen this in daycare centers where good and decent people were convicted of child molestation without proof because of repressed memories, which is basically hypnotization of people to forward a narrative. This has happened with fathers against daughters, where confused teenage girls have a host of issues, whether it be suicidal thoughts, whether it be whatever, and the therapist immediately looks at a narrative and says, oh, dad's molesting her, and feeds that narrative to the patient, reinforces it, and ultimately the patient has a memory of it, a memory that never existed. Nobody else is saying this. The only show right now that's saying it is this one. The therapist of Christine Blasey Ford notes that the session during a session, she didn't name Brett Kavanaugh. She said that Ford said there were 4 men in the room. Ford now says there were 2. Ford says the discrepancy is the fault of the therapist. Therapists generally keep copious notes. They have to. Ford, by her admission, has a hazy recollection of the incident. She doesn't remember the year it happened. She believes it occurred in 1982 when she was 15 and Kavanaugh was 17. She doesn't recall where the incident occurred, only that it was a house in Montgomery County, Maryland. She forgets whose house it was and how she got there. She forgot whether Kavanaugh and Judge, his friend, were already upstairs when she went up, or if they came up afterwards. She also forgot how she got home that night. But she remembers it was him, right? She doesn't remember anything else, but by God, she remembers it was him. The allegation wasn't released until after Brett Kavanaugh's hearings were over. He was never asked about it. Dianne Feinstein kept the letter quiet that Christine Blasey Ford wrote her until after the hearings concluded. She missed repeated opportunities to question Kavanaugh directly. By releasing the letter after the hearings concluded, Kavanaugh is effectively robbed of an opportunity to defend himself publicly in an open forum. This is political savagery and political character assassination. 65 women who knew Kavanaugh in high school have vouched for his character. The only witnesses deny her allegations. Brett Kavanaugh himself and his best friend Mark Judge both have issued vehement denials. Ford, for the Washington Post, also named 2 others who were in attendance that night. The Washington Post said neither party responded to requests for comment. Another witness now denies Ford's account. Patrick Smith, whom she referred to as PJ, he's since come forward and denied her allegation. I understand that I have been identified by Christine Blasey Ford as the person she remembers as PJ, who supposedly was president of the party she described. I am issuing this statement today to make it clear to all involved that I have no knowledge of the party in question, nor do I have knowledge of the allegations of improper conduct she has leveled against Brett Kavanaugh. There is no evidence whatsoever the incident happened. There's no evidence except a woman who was in therapy creating a memory. This pisses me off. The hashtag Me Too movement, when it comes to people like Harvey Weinstein, okay, yeah. But this is bullcrap. This is Salem. I'm going to play some Hollywood's response. They did another one of those idiotic montage, supporting this woman without evidence because they have a political position. The haze of alcohol. By Ford's own telling, she was drinking the night of the incident. She says Kavanaugh was heavily intoxicated. Basically, alcohol affects your memory. Dear Lord, do we have to even discuss that? She deleted her public social media accounts before revealing herself. She deleted all of her public social media before she came forward, making it difficult to see the advocacy and partnership she was engaged in the time leading up before making the allegation. Ford is a Democrat who donates to left-wing causes, attended anti-Trump March for Science, and previously signed an open letter challenging Trump's border policy. She has made more than 60 donations to liberal causes, with almost 4 dozen to the pro-abortion group Emily's List. Ford has also donated to the DNC, Hillary Clinton more than 10 times, Bernie Sanders, and the progressive organizing group Act Blue. Ford likewise attended the anti-Trump March for Science, where she wore a hat knitted to look like the human brain, but inspired by the feminist pussy hats worn by the women's marchers. I rest my case. But no, there's more. Here's Hollywood's blind support of this woman for political purposes.
Dear Professor Ford.
Yes.
Dear Professor Ford.
Here we go.
Dear Professor Ford.
We know how difficult it is to stand up to
They've really got to come up with something new other than just the montage of the same thing. This is such a cliche. And that's what's her name? She was in Boogie Nights. She was a porn star. Okay, I'll think of her name.
powerful people.
Yes.
We want to thank you for publicly sharing your story of sexual violence.
As members of the Senate determine whether Supreme Court nominee Brett
Well, now they're even overlaying them.
Brett Kavanaugh
Serve as a Supreme Court Justice.
Yes.
Supreme Court Justice.
This context is critical.
The behavior you described was wrong.
Wrong and run.
Yeah, well, I think we all agree that the behavior you described is wrong. I think we could say that groping someone inappropriately and forcing themselves is wrong. But it didn't happen.
Is directly counter to upholding the law and promoting justice.
Oh, Lord.
He should not be confirmed.
Hold on.
He should not be confirmed.
Hold on.
He should not
Hold
be
on.
confirmed.
We can also imagine how shocking and overwhelming it must have been
To have your truth shared.
Now they're actually playing them at the same time. So they're not just montaging. They're actually playing at the same time, which makes it even more insufferable.
On a national stage without your permission.
Oh, there you go. You got the diversity thing going there. You had the woman who's wearing the burqa or whatever the hell it is.
Decision maker about how your story is shared, if ever.
Notice they all don't have makeup on because it's real.
We applaud your courage in coming forward for the public good.
And we will be with you as
How is it for the public good? I think it's for the public bad, to be quite honest. To be able to make up something 36 years later and try to destroy somebody. I'd say it's for the public bad.
face the inevitable backlash.
The inevitable backlash.
What backlash? She's going to end up getting a speaking tour. She might even write a book.
Inevitable backlash.
There might be a movie about her.
You're strong.
You are strong.
Julianne Moore. Yeah, she was in Boogie Nights.
And you are not alone.
You are a survivor. A survivor.
A survivor.
And millions of us have your back.
You and your testimony are credible.
No, they're not.
You and your testimony.
What did I just say? The points. How does that make her credible? She doesn't remember the year. She doesn't remember where. She doesn't remember who was there. She said that there were more people than there were. She was blind, stinking drunk. How does that make her credible? How the hell does that make her credible? What about what I just told you that is factual makes her, in any sense of the word, credible? Are you out of your effing mind? We are Salem.
Testimony are credible.
You and your testimony are credible.
we believe you.
We believe you. We believe you.
Signed, your sisters.
Signed, your sisters.
Signed, your sisters.
Signed, your political hack sisters. This is the antithesis of the feminist movement. I wrote a column about this for Liberty One News. Here's what I said. This flies in the face of everything the feminist movement has ever said. The feminist movement told us men and women are equal, and that's fine. But it also said men and women are not different. Yet, with regard to Brett Kavanaugh, Christine Blasey Ford can hurl Molotov cocktails, then retreat behind the coattails of her radical leftist activist lawyer, Deborah Katz. Christine Blasey Ford is a liberal academic with a fuzzy memory of an event that may or may not have happened 36 years ago. She doesn't recall where it took place. She was blind, stinking drunk. Some of her former classmates have said there was talk about it in school the following days. Problem: school was out of session. It was the summer. Is this reminiscent of the Salem witch trials? I'd say it's the perfect mirror. Christine Blasey Ford didn't remember the event happened until she was in therapy. The therapist uncovered a repressed memory. You may recall, and I just went through this, so I won't go to it. Feminists cannot have it both ways. They cannot claim men and women are different and then not have the balls, yes, I said balls, to face those who accuse them, who they accuse without conditions. Man up, Christine Blasey Ford, because if you're going to attempt to destroy a decent man with an honorable record of service, you'd better be prepared when he wants to fight back. But she won't, because she's demanded all sorts of basically she's telling them how he needs to, or they need to question her. Conditions is the word I'm looking for. Thursday night, she outlined a series of demands from the Senate Judiciary Committee in order for her to testify. No outside counsel questions. The defense testifies first. That flies in the face of the American justice system. A subpoena against Mark Judge, his friend. Kavanaugh will not have the ability to confront his accuser. Not only that, she wants to reverse the entire criminal procedure process by having the defense testify without ever hearing the actual claims against him. That is effing insane. And it further proves my point. That is, this is a desperate last-minute attempt to disrupt and destroy a man's career and his potential tenure on the U.S. Supreme Court. It is unconscionable. I heard Mark Stein filling in for Rush saying that it was evil. It is evil. This is the Democrat Party. This is your Democrat Party. Are you proud of it, Democrats? Because if you are, shame the hell on you. These are my t-shirts. Okay? These right here. These are my t-shirts. You can have this stuff put on onesies or mouse pads. Socialism sucks. Veganism is an eating disorder. Hillary in 20, never. Good guy with a gun. Uranium 1, making Russia great again. I don't care that you're offended. Hillary in 20, never is just fantastic, as I told you. Make America bait again. It's about fishing. Yeah. They're pretty smart, right? They're pretty cool. Go to tpublic.com, look for conservatives. I'd appreciate it. Oh, here's a montage. Democrats who've already determined that Brett Kavanaugh is guilty.
I believe Dr. Blasey Ford because she's telling the truth. And you know it by her story.
That Kavanaugh denies being...
Her story where she doesn't remember where she was, what year it was, how she got there, how she got home.
At the party to begin with, and says his accuser might have mistaken him for someone else. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I've heard, many predators say and refute allegations against them. I think what we need...
As I said, I believe...
the despicable Chuck Schumer.
Professor Ford. I think she's credible, and I think when...
How is she credible? Have you talked to her, you ass? Have you heard her speak? Have you heard her speak? No one has heard her speak.
Investigation is finished, and when she testifies...
You wretched, awful, ugly man.
And Judge Kavanaugh testifies, I think a majority of senators will find her credible.
She told her husband, this is a trauma she's been dealing with her whole life. She doesn't want to be in a bed.
She said it in couples therapy. It was a repressed memory that came out in couples therapy after they had been married for years.
Room that doesn't have two doors.
And it's going to be about listening to what each party has to say, but I believe her.
Do you believe her story?
Well, I can tell you, it really does have a ring of truth to it.
How? How does it have a ring of truth to it? Nancy Pelosi sexually assaulted me in the bathroom at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Crystal City in 2005.
I am skeptical of polygraphs, but for those who believe them,
because polygraphs are bullcrap. They're inadmissible in court.
Has passed the polygraph test.
I believe Dr.
Really, when did the polygraph test? When did it happen? And do we have any documentation of the questions that were asked and how she performed?
Ford, as I refer to her, because she makes a very credible case.
People knew that about her a long time ago.
Oh, Lord.
She told a friend a year ago. She told a reporter before.
She told a friend a year ago.
Before Dr. Kavanaugh was ever named.
By the way, I believe
that was only 35 years after it happened, supposedly.
Dr. Ford, the survivor. There's every reason to disbelieve Judge Kavanaugh.
How is there every reason to disbelieve Judge Kavanaugh? Christine Blasey Ford is a Democrat operative. I told you what she's done as far as donations, as far as political activism. What are you talking about?
After his evasive and seemingly misleading responses at his testimony.
It didn't happen in his testimony. You see, it happened after. It was released after.
The Senate shouldn't simply rely on hearing two conflicting accounts and decide, well, we're okay with not knowing. We're okay with the fact that we might be putting someone who committed attempted rape on the Supreme Court of the United States.
Jake, I want to be clear that for me, there is no debate. I believe
there's no debate.
Professor Ford, Judge Kavanaugh has lied multiple times under oath.
These are the hallmarks of truth. These are the hallmarks of someone who wants to
There you go, the pontificating. The pontificating. That's from Grabian News, by the way. Grabian News is a spectacular website that I use for much of my video clips. From Paul Sperry, Dianne Feinstein, who is a top Democrat in the Senate community vetting Kavanaugh, orchestrated the 11th hour ambush of the conservative nod by withholding a letter from the committee's Republican majority alleging sexual misconduct until the day the panel was preparing to take a vote to confirm him 2 months after receiving the letter. This spring, Hillary Clinton's former press secretary, Brian Fallon, hired one of Feinstein's top aides on the Judiciary Committee to help tank Donald Trump's Supreme Court picks from the outside. Together, he and Feinstein's aide, former Deputy Attorney or General Counsel Paige Herwig, launched a liberal nonprofit group called Demand Justice to lead the left's attack on GOP nominees. In early July, after Trump nominated Brett Kavanaugh for the high bench, Fallon stated that their primary goal was to delay confirmation hearings for him. Meanwhile, he outlined plans of attack, including ginning up questions about what Kavanaugh knew and what he knew about allegations of sexual misconduct by a federal judge he once clerked for. Later that month, a letter alleging Kavanaugh was involved in an attempted rape while in high school was hand-delivered to Feinstein's office. Curiously, Feinstein did not raise the accusation during the confirmation hearings earlier this month. Throughout the hearings, however, Demand Justice dispatched protesters claiming Kavanaugh sought to deny women's rights. You saw them. The circus that was the confirmation hearings. While running attack ads warning he planned to overturn Roe v. Wade and criminalize abortion. The ads appeared in Alaska and Maine to try to sway those states' moderate pro-Republican senators to vote against Kavanaugh. Then, just days before the committee planned to vote for Kavanaugh, the letter that was handed to Feinstein was in turn leaked to the media, and the accuser was identified. Christine Blasey Ford, registered Democrat and donor from San Francisco, claimed Kavanaugh tried to pin her down and sexually assault her at a party while the two were in high school. But the details are sketchy. She can't remember exactly where the incident took place, blah, blah, blah. Last month, Blasey Ford supposedly passed a polygraph test conducted by a former FBI agent and hired a law firm headed by major Democrat donors and activists who are working with Demand Justice to smear Kavanaugh as a sexual predator. They created a website called IBelieveChristineBlasey.com that encourages voters to call their senators and ask that they not vote against Kavanaugh or that they vote against Kavanaugh. Blasey Ford's lead attorney, Deborah Katz, who looks like Gary Busey in drag, at the same time heads a leftist advocacy group funded by liberal megadonor George Soros, who also is funding Demand Justice, which has raised $5 million to sink Trump's high court picks. In a new attack ad, the group compares Kavanaugh to child predator Judge Roy Moore. We are Salem. Blasey Ford's former classmate her last named witness, doesn't recall ever attending the party with Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford. 3 of those people, P.J. Smith, Mark Judge Kavanaugh, have already denied any recollections of a party. Leland Ingram Kaiser, former classmate of Ford's at the all-girls school, Holton Arms, and her final named witness denied any recollection of the party, attending it with Brett. Simply put, Ms. Kaiser does not know Mr. Kavanaugh. She has no recollection of ever being at the party or gathering where she was present with or without Dr. Ford, according to lawyer Howard J. Nash. Mazie Hirono, she is a leftist senator from Hawaii. Like so many things that involve men, she wants to exclude men from them. When you talk about the debate about abortion, men have no say in it because they don't have vaginas and they don't carry the baby, even though they need to be there to create the baby. Now she's telling men to basically shut the hell up with regard to these completely uncredible allegations by Christine Blasey Ford.
Let me just add one thing here. I think we all know when something is unfair, when something smells, and we all know this. Let's face it, this is so patently unfair to her, and what really bothers me and gets me so angry is that the white...
Why is it not fair? Why is it fair for him not to be able to say anything, for him not to be able to confront, for him to not be able to say, hey, what the hell? Where did this come from? Why? What is behind this? Oh, and here she goes. Well, this is a typical Democrat. She's going to use race. Hold on.
And what really bothers me and gets me so angry is that the White House is victimizing this person. Why don't we get that?
What about the judge? Why is he not being victimized? He has a family. He has children. He's led an exemplary life. Why is he not a victim here?
Out there, that why should we participate in a victimization of someone who has the courage to come forward? And she is under absolutely no obligation.
With no evidence whatsoever, just her word from couples therapy that she had not told anyone about.
Participate in a smearing of her and her family. And that is why...
Her family? Has anybody said anything about her family? Who said anything about her family? We don't even know that she has a family.
I am very clear about what needs to happen, but at the same time, you know...
God, these insufferable douchebags in Congress.
If the Republicans go forward with their plan to railroad this and to fast track this, as they have so many other nominations...
What?
I expect the members of the press to
be in bed with the Democrat Party.
Talk about how unfair this all is. I don't think that's editorializing. That's laying out some facts. I expect that from you guys.
What facts? What facts?
Do you think that
this woman is unbelievable.
Yes.
How does that impact the proceedings, if at all?
Of course it helps that there are women on that committee, but you know what? I expect the men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation. But really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions?
Here we go.
It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing for a change. Okay, you can see I'm a little upset by this, you know?
You know what? You shut the hell up. It takes 2 people for a sexual assault to occur. Okay? It takes the man and it takes the woman. Sometimes it takes the woman, the man, whatever. But we're supposed to shut the hell up. No, we're not going to shut the hell up. We're not going to shut the hell up because the feminist movement demanded that we are equal and we are the same. And if you're going to go hurl rocks, you better be prepared for a fight. Because it's time for the feminization of the American culture to end with regard to masculinity. Masculinity is not toxic. Fathers are good and necessary. Men are good and necessary. There are bad eggs on both sides of the equation. This is bullcrap. Ladies, put your big girl panties on, you feminists. Grow the hell up and realize that if you're going to make accusations like this, you'd better be ready for a friggin' fight. Here's the despicable Congressman Adam Schiff.
In the House?
I hear you on that. I hear your frustration on that, and I have many times when you've been on. There is an issue of weaponizing investigations. Prosecute your political enemies.
Despicable Chris Cuomo. This guy looks like a Pez dispenser.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse today, talking about Kavanaugh, said, if we get the gavel, well, why should I speak for him? Here's what he said.
This is such bad practice that even if they were to ram this guy through, as soon as Democrats get gavels, we're going to want to get to the bottom of this.
They're actually talking about impeaching him before he's even been confirmed. That's how broken and destroyed and disgusting and intellectually and morally bankrupt the Democrat Party is.
The idea of Kavanaugh as a sitting Supreme Court justice, and you would open, I know you're not in the Senate, but the Senate would open an investigation into him as a sitting justice. Is that politically saleable?
Well, look, I think...
Saleable? Saleable?
Senator
like a boat?
White House is saying is that we need to figure this out up front. We don't want a justice of the Supreme Court who is tainted by the question, did this justice commit attempted rape? If we can resolve that question...
We had a president. Oh, really?
Before he gets a lifetime opponent, that's what we ought to do. And I think what the Republicans are setting up right now is...
He tries to act so reasonable, but he's not.
Number one, they hope that Dr. Ford doesn't show up at all. That's the best.
No, they really want her to appear. They really want her to appear. There's nobody who's afraid of this woman. There's no... Any lawyer for the defense would be happy to have her come forward so they could challenge her scurrilous allegations.
Case for them. Next to that, they hope that they can present just a he said, she said, so they can argue to their supporters back home, we believe Kavanaugh.
Should be she said, then he said. That's the way the criminal justice system works.
But no one can really know, but we're giving him the benefit of the doubt. The reality is
he needs it.
They don't want to look into it. They don't want to know anything.
There's nothing to look into. Do I have to say it again? There's no evidence. There's no evidence. There are no witnesses. There's no evidence. I'm not going to do this article. I'm not going to do it. Oh, Michael Moore. We're going to have Michael Moore. Giant fat piece of crap. I don't believe that Princess Leia is chained to him, but here he is talking to Bill Maher about this.
Bill Shine is now,
yes, exactly.
Who was the guy at Fox News when Roger Ailes was there covering on Bill O'Reilly. Now he's the advisor to Trump in the White House prepping Brett Kavanaugh, the Republican. They're always 6 degrees from sexual harassment, that party.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's a lot closer than just 6 degrees of it. They believe in this. That's why they don't like this woman who's come forward, and they want to go after her now. And they've given her...
By the way, his latest movie is tanking.
Until tonight or something like that.
Ridiculous.
Because they realize these are no longer documentaries. These are just pieces of propaganda.
Well, right now, I think, when we're on the air.
Because women love ultimatums. That's what...
Yeah, especially...
You know, you played grab ass so many times, Bill, at the Playboy Mansion. We've heard stories about you. Give me a break.
Those who have been victimized by men, you know, nothing like saying to a potential rape victim, you got till 10 o'clock.
Especially when it's...
You've had 36 years, doofus.
About the rape. It's like
Chuck Grassley, who's 85,000 years old.
Well, you're not much younger there, Junior.
And it looks like he's out of the crucible, you know?
Right.
You have to... Okay. I gotta go.
God, unbelievable. Who watches the show? I think he's a pretty funny guy. But he sits there in an audience filled with fluffers and never has to be challenged, is never challenged by anybody. Michael Moore, dear Lord. Dana Lash on The View, which I like to call the insufferable harpies from hell show. She had to defend and actually talk about the hypocrisy of Keith Ellison's victims. Keith Ellison, running for Attorney General in the state of Minnesota. Apparently, sexual abuse allegations by 2 women have been made, including a woman who actually called the police Two women, Amy Louise Alexander, accused Ellison of abuse in 2006. The second woman, Karen Monahan, went public with her allegations in August. This is not 36 years ago, and there are witnesses. Here is Dana Lash on The View talking about the hypocrisy.
What I grew up with, that men are supposed to protect you from these predatory males. I do too. And they're not doing that.
If you're a feminist, you don't need to be defended. If you're a feminist, you don't need to be defended. You don't need the door opened for you, and you don't need to pay for and the man doesn't have to pay for dinner. But you cherry pick your issues, and then you become a little girl again.
People in Congress right now, in that Senate Judiciary Committee, these white men, old, by the way, are not protecting.
You're an old white woman. What the hell are you talking about?
Protecting women.
What are you? So you're 60 years old.
Protecting a man who is probably guilty.
He's probably guilty. How is he probably guilty? What have I said during this podcast that is in any way, shape, or form pointed to guilt of Brett Kavanaugh? What have I said here that shows any credible evidence that he did anything? Come on. I'm not here to BS. I'm sharing the truth here today. I'm sharing the truth. Everything that I've said is factually correct. Everything that I've said during this is factually correct. Do I have a political bent? Yes. But right now, this is beyond politics. This is about a singular woman 36 years ago, something that may or may not have happened, that was brought up in couples therapy years after it supposedly happened. Her husband didn't even know about it. It was fed to her by a psychologist who was probably trying to earn her $150 an hour.
If you're not Judge Kavanaugh, take the lie detector test. Yeah.
Lie detector tests are bullcrap.
Prove it the way she did and the way Anita Hill did, that they were not lying. Let's see that from you. Or are you a coward?
Yeah. A coward. All right, let's bring in Dana Lash, nationally syndicated radio talk show host. She joins us from her remote location. Dana, what did you think of Joy Behar's comments regarding probably guilty Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, good morning, everyone, and happy birthday to Ainsley. Before we jump into this, I'm not quite sure how to take Joy Behar, because let's look at it in this particular.
How about you take her as a partisan hack who's really not very funny?
Way. It wasn't old white men that for 6 weeks sat on the accusation from this particular individual, Dr. Ford. It wasn't old white men that kept it quiet and did nothing to verify the claims or to investigate or to even reach out or comfort the accuser. In fact, it was those old white men that Joy Behar is assailing on The View, who moved swiftly within a day, within the period of 24 hours, to immediately reach out, offer to privately come to this individual to hear her claims, to hear her accusations. It was those quote-unquote old white men that moved to resolve this issue and seek a pathway to justice if justice is to be had. It wasn't the Dianne Feinsteins, who I think did a disservice to this particular individual. And separating the claims from the way it was handled, I think that the way it was handled was absolutely atrocious. And I think that if Democrats were doing everything that they could to cast aspersions onto this doctor and onto these claims and to undermine them by handling them a certain way, this is the way they chose. And to further to the point of what Joy Behar said, it also, I mean, we could talk about the old white men in the Democrat Party that are ignoring the claims of Ms. Monahan, who is the accuser of Keith Ellison. For a party that claims to protect women, here's a woman that came forward with medical records and really reputable claims and a lot of corroboration to back it up. And yet I've heard nothing about protecting women from this particular party where it concerns the accuser of Keith Ellison.
Okay. Well said. Keith Ellison is being accused by two women of abuse. Now, Ellison says that the allegations are being continually investigated by an independent investigation. Yeah. One of the victims alleges that Ellison once dragged her off a bed by her feet while verbally berating her. She also said Ellison sent her threatening text messages. That should be easy to find. This week, this victim, Monahan, released a note that shows she discussed the abuse with the physician nearly a year before the allegations went public. She states that she was in a very stressful environment for years, emotional and physical abuse by a partner with whom she is now separated. She identifies the individual she was involved with as Congressman Keith Ellison, and she is worried about retribution if she identifies him publicly. But that doesn't have any credibility, you see. the allegations that I spoke of by Christine Blasey Ford do have credibility somehow. Intellectually and morally bankrupt. Here he is talking, Keith Ellison talking on a TV show, Twin Cities PBS Almanac program.
I'm kind of curious about the domestic abuse allegations here.
Right. 40% say those allegations are a factor in how they're considering your race. Right. So,
yeah, well, let me tell you, let's talk about Amy Alexander. That was a case in 2005 when she was harassing me and my staff. I got an order for protection to have her not do that anymore.
But did he wear it?
The judge awarded that in 2006 when I was running for Congress. She filed a claim. It was denied by the judge for order of protection. And then we went to a hearing, and the judge said she was ordered to stop making the falsehoods against me and to not contact me at all.
Stop making the falsehoods against me?
So this is not multiple cases. Now let's talk about the current one that we're dealing with now.
Ms. Monahan.
Okay, so it's not multiple cases, but you just cited another case, so this would be multiple.
No, look, we were in a long-term relationship.
Yes.
It ended 2 years ago. 2 days before the primary, she made these allegations. They're not true. I've said that they're not true. I've answered questions and gone on Esme Murphy and others to...
Esme Murphy, that's leftist host.
To make these points clear. There is an ongoing...
Unchallenged. I'm certain, completely unchallenged by this Esme Murphy.
Investigation, which we hope will conclude.
Will that be done before the election?
I don't know. It's an independent investigation, so I don't know.
It's not an independent investigation. It's independent by your friends and fellow party members.
No,
Thank you. It is not an independent investigation. Thank you.
That's not an independent investigation. But it's a good thing that the
Ms. Monahan...
let's go ahead and distract and get away from that question, which deserves to be answered.
Monahan on social media says, Ms. Monahan said yesterday on social media that she offered to meet with Keith and the investigator at the same time, and you declined. Is that true?
Well, because we broke up 2 years ago for a reason. I don't want to.
Yeah, because you were beating the snot out of her.
Relationship, and therefore I left the relationship, and so
it wasn't her.
To get back in touch with her again is not something that I'm interested in doing. I've met somebody new, and
it wasn't about getting back together again. She wanted to be interviewed with you in the room, you ass.
I'm trying to pursue my life and move on.
Are you confident that no one else will step forward with any other allegations?
Look, in this political environment, I don't know what somebody might cook up, but I can tell you that there is absolutely nobody.
So he's not denying that there could be other people stepping forward with allegations, but he's already saying that they're not credible.
And I'm aware of who has any sort of, who's threatening or suggesting or has ever made a prior accusation.
I think 2 credible, strong allegations of domestic abuse is enough.
There's not.
I think that
there's none, actually.
And there's documentary evidence. We have a medical record where Ms. Monahan reported to her doctor the abuse that was going on.
Physically and emotionally abused her, it says, and that she was worried that there'd be retribution if she identified you publicly.
Let me tell you, that record was made a year after we broke up. And
not 36 years later, by the way.
Time when she was still, when she was essentially putting together the allegation she made 2 days.
Dip. A little bit difficult there, huh? A little bit difficult to deny. Unbelievable. Oh, Joe Biden has to sound off on this, right? Joe Biden, creepy old Uncle Joe. Here's old Uncle Joe talking about the Kavanaugh hearings.
Brett Kavanaugh here. Dr. Ford has said now that she wants to testify, as you know, Mr. Vice President, but now the battle seems to be over.
Wait. Who does he look like? He looks like this guy. You notice that? Sorry. I just had to point that out. He looks a whole lot like that puppet. Yeah. Speaking of puppets, here's a little bit more from Joe Biden.
Now versus when. She wants to make sure that she's protected. She wants to make sure that she's treated fairly. How would you suggest that the Senate?
She wants to hide behind the skirt of her lawyer. She wants to be a girl. She wants to be treated like a 15-year-old. She wants to basically fly in the face of the feminist movement because she can hurl rocks. But when somebody wants to fight back, she's going to go to her safe space.
Handle these allegations.
I think they should do an FBI investigation.
There's already, he's been investigated 6 times by the FBI. They've done 6 background checks on Brett Kavanaugh. for different judiciary positions.
We did that for Anita Hill. Took 2 days, number one. And number two, most importantly, Anita Hill was vilified when she came forward by a lot of my colleagues. Character assassination. I wish I could have done more to prevent those questions the way they asked them. I hope my colleagues learned from that. She deserves to be treated with dignity. It takes enormous courage for a woman to come forward.
No, not 36 years later with the repressed memory that came out in couples therapy.
Bright lights of millions of people watching and relive something that happened to her, assert to something that happened to her. And she should be treated with respect.
Why? What has she done to earn respect? What has she done to earn respect? She has a history of giving to liberal causes. She is a Democrat liberal activist. She is working in concert with a group funded by George Soros to disrupt and stop Trump Supreme Court nominees. This is bought and paid for, and she deserves respect.
Anita Hill, you were chairman of the Judiciary Committee back in 1991. You were roundly criticized for not doing more during that hearing. Looking back on that.
Nah, I don't want to go with this. Let's not go with the Anita Hill thing. I don't think we need to rehash. But he sure does look like this, doesn't he? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, here he is speaking at in front of another group where Uncle Joe was a little bit incoherent. Check this out.
Folks, I know it's been a long day for you. And Lindsay is right. And it's not hyperbole to suggest that, you can always tell, and you women who are in the workplace know this.
Yes.
You can tell the men who really respect you and believe you a total equal, if not a superior.
Yeah,
I mean, am I joking? You can feel it. You know it. And I'll tell you now, I'll make you a bet.
Yes.
And I'm slipping into my violence against women passion, but take a look and I'll bet you.
I think an old Uncle Joe had a couple martinis before he took the stage.
Every one of those men had a strong, independent mother or sister or grandmother or somebody raised him.
Even drunk, he is, what's the word I'm looking for? He condescends. He condescends.
And I've been really fortunate. I didn't plan on saying this, but
yes.
My mother had a backbone like a ramrod. My deceased wife was fierce. Jill, you've seen how independent and committed she is. And I always kid, but it's true. Every brother should have a sister like I do. A hell of a lot better looking and a lot smarter.
Certainly a lot smarter, but so is a box of rocks. What else do I have here? Well, I got some kind of, non-political stuff coming up. The iPhone XS Plus. Although they've called it the 10XS. The 10XS. When you're spending $1,400 on a phone, you probably say it's XS. It's definitely to excess. Wow. Here's a sponsor. Dots Pretzels. Oh, my goodness. Guys, these are available in the Midwest. If you live outside the Midwest, order these online. Order a box of them. Don't just order one bag. Order 10 bags. These are the best pretzels you've ever had in your life. I had some last night. I have them every night. If they're in the house, I can't stop eating them. They are not profoundly salty. Generally, with pretzels, you just taste pretzel and salt. That's it. These have garlic and onion and buttery nuances, and they're just the best damn pretzels ever. DotsPretzels.com. DotsPretzels.com. Order a bunch of them because you're going to love them. I know, because I know food, ladies and gentlemen. I know food. Donald Trump had a fiery speech in Springfield, Missouri. Here's what he had to say about the FBI and Rod Rosenstein. Now, you remember we heard this week that Rod Rosenstein said in a meeting that he wanted to wear a wire during meetings with Donald Trump, and he invoked the 25th Amendment, which would basically say Donald Trump is mentally unfit for office. I tend to think that Rosenstein was actually joking. I do. I don't think that this story. Here's CNN, then I'll get to Donald Trump. Here's CNN with their massive story that basically fell flat on its face. Honestly, this story has gone nowhere. This is, according to Wolf Blitzer right now, the biggest story of the year, and literally the next day it was gone. This is how CNN rolls.
Is CNN breaking news?
Good major breaking news coming into CNN right now, courtesy of the New York Times. The New York Times now reporting a bombshell report. Let me read the lead of the New York Times that just posted. The Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, suggested last year that he secretly recorded President Trump in the White House to expose the chaos consuming the administration, and he, Rosenstein, discussed recruiting cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to remove Mr. Trump from office.
I think it went like this. What do you want me to do? You want me to wear a wire? Really? You want me to wear a wire in there? Right? How about we invoke the 25th Amendment? I got to tell you, as much as I am not a fan of the deep state, I don't think that this is the story that it is cracked up to be. I don't think that Rosenstein actually said this. I don't. I think this is a story that was cooked up, and it was meant to make the president take the bait. That's what I think it was. To fire Rod Rosenstein and create more of a controversy, create more of a scandal in the White House, making it look like the president really legitimately is trying to shut down the FBI and the Justice Department.
For being unfit. There are a lot of details in this story, but clearly this is a bombshell. Rod Rosenstein.
Then why wasn't it a bombshell the day after?
The number 2 official, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, in this meeting, secretly recording the President of the United States and actually discussing the possibility.
He didn't secretly record the President of the United States. He suggested it. We don't know the context.
According to the New York Times, of invoking...
But it's the New York Times, so they have a lot of credibility.
The 25th Amendment to the Constitution that would remove the president from office. Let's go to our justice reporter, Laura Jarrett, who's monitoring this development.
Now, let's not go to her. This was a bombshell. Why is it not on CNN today? Back in January, I was in Atlanta. I was auditioning for a radio station. And the narrative of the day for One Day in News was that Donald Trump was insane. Donald Trump was mentally unfit to hold office. There were all these experts who were brought out for whatever reason. I don't know if it was because of a speech he made, but somehow he was absolutely insane and needed to be removed from office. That went for the entire day. The next day, it was gone. The next day, it was completely gone. That's how CNN rolls. Here is Donald Trump at that rally in Springfield, Missouri, talking about the lingering stench of the FBI, among other things.
So Claire McCaskill will never, ever vote our way because she loves the swamp. She's part of the swamp.
This is a Josh Hawley rally. He's running against Claire McCaskill for Senate, and he's obviously talking about Claire McCaskill, senator from the state of Missouri, and rabid leftist and swamp dweller.
And we have a true swamp in Washington. Just look at what is now being exposed in our Department of Justice and the FBI. Look at what's going on.
Yeah, man.
Look at what's going on. And I want to tell you, we have great people in the Department of Justice.
Yes.
We have great people.
Just not at the head of it.
These are people, I really believe, you take a poll, I got to be at 95%. But you had some real bad ones. You've seen what's happened at the FBI. They're all gone. They're all gone. They're all gone.
Yeah. Not all.
But there's a lingering stench, and we're going to get rid of that, too.
All right, there you go. Get rid of the lingering stench as well. The president in Springfield, Missouri, where it's kind of a near and dear place to my heart because my wife is from down near there, from a town called Ozark, Missouri, southern Missouri. The former president of the United States, talking about privilege. I got to get this in today because his arrogance is just profound. This is Barack Obama, previously just kind of passive aggressively mentioning the current president in speeches and things like that. Now he's just full-fledged campaigning for anyone opposing him.
Every time we try to pull ourselves closer to the American ideal, that all of us are created equal.
Oh, boy.
Endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights.
What?
Every time that happens, somebody who likes things the way they are, somebody who's benefiting.
You are the perfect example of supporting things that the way they are in Washington, D.C. Are you out of your mind?
From power and privilege, push back.
What did you do to drain the swamp, sir?
And they'll push any way they can. Sometimes they push back directly. Sometimes they're sneaky. And they'll try to divide working people.
You divided the American people on socioeconomic levels, on race, on sex, on sexuality.
And they'll try to make you feel as if you've got no power. And they'll try to make you cynical. Because it helps them keep their power and their privilege.
You were privileged. You went to the Punahou School. You went to Ivy League colleges. You became a community organizer. You were completely propped up by radicals who knew that you had this charisma they needed. You are the ultimate Manchurian candidate.
And we're living through one of those moments right now.
Are we really?
It didn't start with
black people having the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the country.
One guy. We didn't get here overnight.
Yeah, it started with you.
For a long time now, there's been anxiety and fear and uncertainty that's been building because we live in a rapidly changing world, and the economy's changing.
Yeah, it's getting better.
And the face of America's changing.
This is the race thing.
And technology is changing.
Yes.
And all of that has challenged who we are and forced us to adapt.
Yeah, so.
And we see things we're not accustomed to, and we get stressed, and we get scared. We don't know what the future is going to bring.
Okay. I have to cut things short because right now I've only got about another 30 seconds of the show. I want to thank you for watching me today. Make sure to check me out on Facebook at Rob Carson Show and Twitter at Rob Carson. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. Have a glorious day. God bless, and we will see you again very soon.
Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show. That. On Twitter at Rob Carson. And
see you soon, guys.
I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now.